Well, hello everyone. Hope everything's going well in all your classes. I felt the need to really make a good video this week. In fact, I'm going to make one for this covers all of my classes. Why? Because the issues, the topics from the past couple weeks are sort of I would say would be of interest to my other classes. So it's going to be one that covers a number of topics that have been come up here and there over the past couple weeks that in general are going to be very important in IT and IT management. And these would be communication, diversity, the cloud, quality, needs barriers and risks, and legal, ethical, and policy issues. So let's quickly run through this list that is literally as long as my arm. And if you find interest, reply to this thread and we can have a conversation about it. Get started. Let's talk about diversity. This is something that was actually in a great topic in one of my doctoral classes. And, it means a number of different things depending on where you are, who you are, and something we're all trying to struggle with in different organizations. I mean, it can mean something different where I am here versus 20 miles away. In one place, it could be a matter of the various cultures that are present, which where I'm at in my suburbia is we have people from all over the world. Even just within a couple blocks of here, we have people from maybe 10 different countries. You go about 20 miles away, it's more a matter of how you look. But the big thing, the true thing that really affects diversity and what diversity is about is the ideas and thoughts, the influence that come into an organization, because you do need more kinds of ideas coming into an organization to truly make it go. One of the things that really should be mentioned as far as diversity and ideas is a position from the Vatican from years and years ago. It was called the Devil's Advocate, and that was the actual title of that position. And that was where, when determining if someone should be a saint or not, is someone would present the opposite viewpoint, do investigation, and present any argument they could as far as why this should not be done. And it allowed for better decisions to be made. And what has been shown is when you can come up with as many ideas as possible, valid ideas, that even conflict against each other, you actually end up having better ideas and better decisions being made, versus just a bunch of people saying, oh sure. Yes, people do not make good decisions. Okay, communication. Again, coming out of diversity, it is something that we show a good need for, and also for how our different backgrounds, etc., can affect that. One thing, as far as different cultures, different languages, people with different backgrounds, you cannot separate language from culture. And so it does affect things, especially in our more global society, in that if you're constantly using idiomatic language, pronouns versus the actual thing, make sure you're very clear in whatever you communicate. I've seen a lot of people say, well, next Monday. Well, does it mean this Monday or the week after? If you say he brought it, instead of saying Mike brought the new software. Definitely make sure you're very clear on what you're communicating, etc. I've seen a lot of communication breakdowns simply because someone assumed something was being said by being very vague versus being very specific. Again, make sure you're clear. Better to be clear than to try to be overly succinct. Another thing, the cloud. I think this is a big thing. The cloud is here. the cloud is the enabler of the bring your own device and digital convergence. Digital convergence was something that we're talking about in my MBA classes more than a dozen years ago, where it was thought or dreamed of you'd eventually have a single device which would do pretty much everything. And we are sort of getting that with smartphone technology. And what the cloud does is allow you to have apps, information, data, etc. out there where your device that may not be all powerful can access and manipulate that nearly all powerful information that's out there in the cloud. So very interesting. I'm doing some work with the cloud myself, and it's been a truly incredible experience. Quality. This is something that is definitely a big thing in IT, and I see it being an even bigger, more strategic idea, because attached to quality you have customer satisfaction, you have needs gathering, etc., which IT has been brought out of the back room into the forefront in the organization. And going forward, it's going to be even bigger roles, and so quality is going to be a bigger part of this. Again, one of the things I learned even years ago, customer determines the quality. Who is that customer and what do they need? What is that functionality and how things should look like in the end? That's one thing you really need to be taking a look at, and is something that you could spend a lifetime just investigating on your own. One thing in IT, agile, things being iterative, continual improvement. The old Deming popularized Shewhart PDCA, plan, do, check, act cycle is a big part of that. You see, in IT management, you're going to be looking at processes, improving those, and eventually throwing systems behind that. So before you automate anything, before you throw a ton of development into a solution, you better have an idea of what that process should look like. So fix that process, fix that quality, because one of the things also, look at the cost of quality. And that is, if you improve the quality, spend some time on that, you will decrease the costs in the long run. And something that's been mentioned in at least one of my classes was something called rework. If you do it right the first time, you don't have to redo it afterward. And that goes from anything from writing the code, testing the code, to making sure that process that's going to be carried out through that code is good to begin with. That way you don't have to go and redo the system to fix that bad process that you automated to begin with. So I would say looking at quality and operations is a big thing for IT and IT leadership to be looking at going forward. Couple more things. Needs, barriers, and risks. This was an analysis done in a class. Needs drive risks. So if you don't know what the needs are for that customer, how do you know what the risks are going to be when you implement that project? So spend the time on the needs at the beginning. That will determine what those risks are going to be, because if you don't do something, you don't have the risk. Again, customer determines the quality. Who are your customers? It could be anywhere from the end user through the person paying for it, your executive sponsor, etc. So you'll have a variety of people that need to be, who have needs that need to be met. Make sure you know what's going on with that. So really analyze those needs before you just jump in and do the risks. And again, when you get to the risks, you create your risk matrix. One thing I say in a variety of all the different analyses we've been doing in all my classes, write things out in complete sentences. Why? Because customer needs, that can be a good thing to be met, but if you just write a couple words down, you don't know if it's positive or the negative. So write it completely out in complete sentences. Guess what? Your thoughts are more complete. You're going to have a better idea of what things are going to look like to someone else. Finally, legal, ethical, and policy. I've had IT learners, people who've been veterans, tell me the regulatory environment is going to be one of the biggest factors out there. And so what happens legally is going to be a big thing. I've done legal work myself, involved in a number of things. Just say that when it comes down to legal issues, make sure you know what laws are involved, because that's going to be a big thing. Dealing with what we have being in education, we have FERPA, which deals with privacy issues. We have SEC because we are a public company. There are other things, ADA, Americans with Disability Act, in order to make sure everything is accessible. Those are just three off the top of my head. There are more, and wherever you are, make sure you know what laws are going to affect what you're doing, because whatever you're doing in IT is going to be affecting more and more people as you go forward. So I hope this all has been helpful to you. It's a lot of good food for thought and conversation, and look forward to our last few weeks and wish you well in your classes. Thanks.